What's up, Rainbow Heads? For those of you just joining me today, my name is Caitlin Ford. I am a 10-year veteran hairstylist as well as an award-winning hair colorist who specializes in really weird hair color. Today though, instead of hair color, we're going to be continuing our quarantine haircut series, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to cut short hair using scissors. This is going to be a super basic haircut. It's probably not going to be exactly like your hairstylist cuts your hair in the salon. This is literally just something to get you by if you are completely desperate and just really need to cut your hair. And also, for those of you who have been asking me about kids' haircuts, this will work on a child's head as well. It's just a smaller noggin, but everything is exactly the same. I will be doing another video soon on how to cut hair using clippers if you happen to have that as a tool, so be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see that video. And in case you're unaware, in my previous video, I did cover how to cut your own hair if you happen to have longer hair, so be sure to check that out if that happens to be your hair type. I am joined yet again by my good friend Josh Beauregard. We're going to be cutting his hair today. He volunteered to be my victim today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Also, just so you guys know, before anybody gives me crap in the comments, Josh and I are actually roommates, so we're quarantined together.
Quarantine cuties.
Quarantine cuties. I have to say, it's been really awesome having somebody to be quarantined with. I really feel for everybody who is stuck on their own right now, but I just want to let you guys know that so that you're not like, wait, why is she cutting that person's hair? Like,
we're being super safe, and we hope you are too.
Yes, we're washing our hands. We're not going out anywhere except for to the grocery store when we need to, and everybody should be doing the same thing right now. So what we're going to start with first is I'm going to go ahead and spray down Josh's hair, get it nice and wet. Not dripping or anything, just wet enough. And just so you guys know, this is a mister bottle. A lot of people ask, like, what is up with that fancy spray bottle?
I love it.
It's so nice. Just gently, it mists the hair. But
sounds like a sea breeze.
Yeah, it's a sea breeze. If you're doing hair cutting using scissors, you definitely want to make sure you keep the hair evenly damp all over. If the hair starts to dry off in any part, go ahead and hit it with your mister again, get it nice and damp. The reason why you want to keep everything evenly dampened is it's going to make sure that the hair stays even, because hair will actually shrink up as it dries. So you want it to all be either wet or dry. You don't want it in between. With scissor cutting, you definitely typically want the hair damp. If you're using clippers, you want to go ahead and make sure the hair is dry. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to part the hair off just above the temple. So we'll part this off. And now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We want to make sure our partings are even. So if you see that one side's a little higher than the other, go ahead and part that to make it even. As you can see, the way that the head is shaped, we have this diagonal line going outward, and then it curves inward this way. So right at the point where the hair starts to curve inward towards the top, that's where you're going to connect these two partings together. What I'm going to do is just a little bit of extra insurance. I'm going to go ahead and throw some clips into Josh's hair just to make sure the top is secure away from the bottom. It's going to help us to stay a lot more organized. All right, and with our sectioning out of the way, it is now time to go ahead and cut Josh's hair. So I'm going to go ahead and pull him to the front here. We're going to create two guides for this haircut, one on this side of the head and one on this side of the head. These guides at the very front of our hairline are going to be what we follow throughout the rest of the haircut. It's going to help us to create a lot of accuracy and make sure that we're keeping everything nice and even. What I'm going to do here is we're going to make a vertical parting here right in front of the ear. This is only about, I would say, about 3 1/4 inches back from the hairline. Let me turn Josh to the side so you can see here. So you can see that's our very first parting right here, and we're going to create our first guide. And Josh's hair is super long right now. I'm going to cut a little bit of this length off, not tons of it, but we are going to cut it shorter.
Oh my god.
When the rings come off, you know it's serious.
Serious business.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comb this hair out straight from the head at a 90-degree angle. This way.
Just pull me by my hair, it's fine.
So we're pulling it straight out. So you want your fingers to be perpendicular from the floor, totally straight out from the head. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull your fingers out to about the length that you're wanting to achieve with your haircut. So usually with these types of haircuts, the sides are shorter than the top. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And I would definitely encourage you guys, if you're not experienced or comfortable cutting hair, I would definitely encourage you to start with taking off less length first, because you can always go back through and take off more. But do a little little practice taking off a little length first. Move very, very slowly while you're doing this. And yeah, just work one little bit at a time. You can always take this hair shorter. It's a lot harder to put it back on once it's taken off. So you're going to pull your fingers out to a length that you're happy with taking off. Whoopsie.
Barbicide.
So you're going to pull that hair straight off of the head. And once you get to a length that you're happy with, you're going to follow parallel right along your fingers and cut that length off. And if you guys saw my long hair cutting video, which was the one that I did right before this one, you'll know that I actually recommended you guys getting for real hair cutting scissors, and the same goes for this haircut as well. You definitely want to make sure you're using real hair cutting scissors. Anything else are going to bend the hair, so look for them online. They may have them in the hair care aisle at Walmart or Target. So once we have that established on this side, what we're going to do is we're going to create the exact same cut on the other side of the head. The reason why I'm going to create two guides on both sides of the head is I want to work around the head, and I want to use that guide to make sure that we are going to be at the same length at both sides, and we can correct any unevenness in the end if there is any unevenness. So we're literally doing the exact same thing on this side. What I'm going to do is pick up this piece right here and pull this section out to about the same length that the other side is at, so that I can kind of use that as my guide here. Now what you're going to want to do before you move on with the rest of this haircut is make sure your guides are about the same length. So go ahead and pull those lengths down and make sure that it's even on both sides. That's going to really help you make sure that this haircut is even overall. I think we are about even right there. We're going to work to this section right behind the ear here before we start to address the back. Parallel to my first parting, I'm going to go ahead and take another parting, and I'm going to scoop both of those sections up together. And we're going to pull it straight out from the head again. What you want to try to avoid here is you don't want to push this section forward as you cut it. You want to make sure you're pulling it straight about 90 degrees out of the head here. And what you should be able to see here is if you fold this long hair back, you'll be able to see the shorter lengths of your first cut start to pop out. When I move to the other side, I will get my camera a little closer to Josh's head so you can see this a little bit better. But what you want to do is make sure you always see your established length in the hair before you continue cutting hair. That's very, very important. We're going to take another parting parallel to our previous section, pull that section out, and then cut straight down. Again, I'm always checking to make sure I have my guide. All right, and so we're going to continue doing that. Again, pulling each of our new partings to the previous parting that we did, not all the way to the first parting that we did, but the one we cut before the one we're currently working on. So we'll pull that straight out from the head. Again, make sure that we have our line established there, and then cut parallel. All right, so once we get to just behind the ear right here, we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, you guys, so I've got the camera a little bit closer here so that we can see much closer up here so you can get the full detail, but we're basically going to be doing the exact same thing on this side. So I've already got my guide cut right here. We're going to go ahead and take our next parting right behind that. And you guys can see if I pull this long bit back, you can see that short hair popping out. That is what our guide is. That's what we are looking for with every single cut that we make. I'm going to go ahead and pull this hair straight out here, and you'll be able to see that line through your section as you cut. If you can't see that line, make your section smaller. Take another parting, and again we are pulling that to our previous section. Look for that guide and then cut. And it's important to make sure you are only cutting to that guide. You're not cutting your guide off. You never want to cut into your guide. You're using it as an outline. All right, so the next technique that I'm actually going to show you guys is something called cross-checking. So this is something that hairdressers do to make sure that our cuts are even and there's no little weird wavy lines here. When I brush this down, everything looks like it's pretty even. But if you need to check and make sure that your cuts are even, something that you can do is actually take horizontal partings here, and we're going to pull it out horizontally from the head here. And if you see any like lumps or bumps, you can see that's pretty even, like that line is very straight across. If you see any lumps or bumps throughout there, you can go ahead and cut that straight across, and it's going to help to even anything out. Let me see if I can find even just one little mistake here. I'm just so good I can't find any mistakes. So
can't mess with perfection.
I know this is actually pretty good. So you can see this length right here has started getting a little longer on that side, so if I need to even that out, all I need to do, so our guide is going to be this length over here on this side where we're even. It gets a little longer right here, so we're just going to cut to our guide right there, and you can see that's now straight across, and so now we know that there's no lumps or bumps or weird spots. If you're doing this haircut and you're combing this down and it looks like you can see obvious cut marks here, just go ahead and cross check, do some horizontal partings throughout that hair, and make sure that you have everything nice and even. And don't worry about this hair that's kind of like hanging over the ears. I'm going to show you guys how to address that in the end. I always do the outline. This is called the outline of the haircut. I always like to do that at the end. Okay, so now that we have both of the sides established, we're going to go ahead and do the back of the hair. So I'm going to go ahead and turn Josh around here. I'll zoom in on the other side of the head when we go to the other side of the head, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and part off down the middle of the back of the head. Okay, so we're going to work on this half of the back of the head first. We ended up right behind the ear here, but what we're going to do is we're going to continue to take vertical sections down the back of the head. And we're literally just going to keep doing the exact same thing we did on the sides. We're going to continue those same exact steps. We're going to make sure that we find our guide, and then we're going to cut. All right, so with one half out of the way, we're going to go ahead and cut this other half. I've zoomed in for you guys to see a little bit better on this side. There's our guide. Just as a side note, you guys don't need to feel like you need to hold all of these sections in one section. If it's starting to get too long for you, you can actually break this up. So I've got this section right here, and I'm just pulling out the top part of this section first. We'll cut that first, and then we can go ahead and scoop up the bottom part of the section and cut that if we need to. All right, so now this side is done. We're going to go ahead and do our little cross check here. You can see there's quite a significant bump right there, so we can go ahead and take that out and pull it straight out. And you can see the length is short right here, it's short right there. We want that to meet in the middle, so we're going to go ahead and cut that straight across. And then you want to go through and cross-check in the middle of the hair where these two sides that we worked on separately meet together. We're going to go ahead and cross that, make sure that both of those sides are even. Okay, you guys, so now that we have the sides of the back done, we are ready to cut the top of the hair. I'm going to go ahead and have Josh look down here. Look way down, Josh. Perfect. So I'm actually going to part off the front of the top from the back of the top. Part just behind the ear where we kind of stopped our first sectioning. We're going to part straight across that, across the top. Miss Josh down again here.
It's so hot, I need to be cooled down.
All right, so this is going to be the back section, and this is going to be the front section. You can go ahead and look up again, Josh. For the top section here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and part Josh's hair off down the middle so you can follow the nose as a guide. We're actually going to switch up the way that we part this as we cut it. So instead of taking vertical sections like this, we're actually going to switch it up and do horizontal sections, and then we'll use vertical sections to cross-check it. So what we're going to do is go in right above where we cut our side section here. We're going to take our very first parting above that, and you'll be able to find it because it's going to be significantly longer than the hair that sits below it. So we'll take a horizontal section right there. So we're going to pull this section out straight, and again I will zoom in on the other side whenever we move on to the other side so you guys can see a little bit better here. And I'm pulling down slightly, just a little bit, to meet that very first section here, the underneath where we've already cut. I can use that as my guide because I can see that length through this older length on the hair, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to use that as our guide, so we're going to pull that section, make sure we see our first cuts through there, and then we're going to cut straight across. And then we'll continue taking horizontal partings all the way up to the end of our section in the middle of the head. And for this, I actually am pulling everything to that very first section, so everything is getting directed to that first section. I'm not pulling up as I go up the head here. You may get to a point where you're not really pulling any more hair and you're not seeing any more hair to cut, and that's okay. You always want to follow the guide. If you lose hair to cut, if it seems like you're pulling things to your section and you're not seeing anything anymore, that's fine. Leave it alone. We're going to address that whenever we get through this very top section here. And you can see this is where we cut previously. There's underneath section. We're going to go and take our horizontal section right above that. We're going to pull everything down towards that previous section. You can see that previously cut hair through there. That's our previously cut hair, and there's the hair that we need to cut sitting on top of it. All right, so now that we have this cut, we're gonna go ahead and cross-check it. And so anytime you're doing a cross-check, it's always just checking in the opposite direction that you actually cut your lines in. So obviously in our first sections, we were actually taking vertical sections and checking horizontally. So for cross-checking horizontal sections, it's the exact opposite. We're actually going to pull it out vertical and make sure that everything is nice and even. Again, we're just looking for any little lumps and bumps, not taking off anything extra. And now we're ready to finish up the back here. Ream this down here, and we're on to our last section through the back. We're going to be taking pie-shaped sections, pivoting around the crown here. I'm going to take a little bit of this previously cut hair here to make sure that I have a guide to follow. There's my guide in there. Now after I cut my last section, I'm going to go ahead and brush through and find just the very middle of this haircut where those two sides meet and make sure that that's even on both sides there. And if necessary, you can go through and do your little bit of horizontal cross-checking. Make sure everything is even. Okay, so now we just have a couple more steps until this haircut is finished. We're going to make sure that the back of the hair at the top is connected with the front of the hair now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mist Josh down here just a little bit. We're going to get rid of his lovely 90s part here, which Josh actually decided that he liked. So
it's cute.
I'm going to part on either side of that part, so a little to the side here, a little to the side here. And then I'm going to continue that part through the back where we just cut on both sides. Now have you look down for me, Josh? So now you can see we have this like thin mohawk strip going through right here. And so to make sure that our back and the front is connected, what we're going to do is we are going to lift this hair up right from this point directly off the head. And I'm going to scoop up hair from both of those sections, from the back and the side section. And you can see there is a little bit of short length right here. It gets just a tiny bit longer through there. So we're going to connect that together. So we're going to use that shorter length right here as our guide, and we're going to cut straight across to even that up through the top here. And then once that's done, I'm gonna have you face forward, Josh. We're gonna make sure that everything connects to that bit that we just cut. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be taking partings going straight across the top of the head here. So we see the shorter length right here. We're gonna go straight across and get rid of this like rounded part that's happening at the top of the head. So we'll see the shorter length, and you can break that up in half if you need to make it easier. But our shorter length that's on this side, that's what we're going to connect all the way across the top of the head. Again, throughout this haircut, we're pulling everything to the previous section. We're not cutting everything to the very first section. And don't judge Josh's roots, you guys. We haven't colored yet, but we are gonna color Josh in an upcoming video.
What should we do?
Yeah, what do you guys think we should do to Josh's hair? What would you like to see on him next? Leave us a comment down below and let us know. And I'm also going to insert a card right here too, because if you guys don't know, Josh has been in a previous video with us before.
It's always a pleasure.
Yes, we did like a really cute little rainbow hair color on him. So I'm going to put a card here for you guys if you want to check that out. Definitely do. All right, and our last little thing that we're going to do, if you guys see like a little bit of heaviness right here, you guys can see we've got a little bit of that like mushroom cut action going on right here. If you see that, all you need to do is take horizontal sections, pull that out. Where you see it start to get a little bit longer up here, you can just go ahead and cut that straight off, and we'll get rid of that little mushroom effect. You can see now that is much more blended looking. So there is only one step left into finishing Josh's hair other than blow drying him, and that's going to be going ahead and cutting the outline of his hair to make sure that everything is nice and blunt. We're going to open up his ear and get rid of this shaggy stuff along the hairline. So doing the outline is very, very straightforward. We're just going to make sure the hair, again, is nice and damp. We're going to brush this straight down flat like this, and we're literally just going to carve in around the ear and kind of use the natural hairline as the guide. You can see Josh's sideburn here, so I'm just kind of connecting everything to that, and then we're just going to curve around the ear. And don't be afraid to only use the point of your scissor as you get around the ear. It can be a little scary cutting around the ear there, so definitely work slowly and meticulously. You don't want to piss off whoever you happen to be cutting, doing your quarantine haircut on. Be careful not to cut too deep into the hairline. You don't want to bring it up like too far. Really just make sure you're looking for that natural hairline. It should be kind of visible through the hair that you're cutting. Now what you can do about these little hairs that kind of grow down past the hairline, the best thing to use for that is actually like a trimmer, like a little grooming trimmer, something very small and precise to clean that up. If you don't have that, you can use the sides of the scissors, just kind of brush that hair up and then clip in to get rid of that. I do have a pair of trimmers, so I'm going to go over that to clean that completely off of Josh's hair, but just so you know, if you need to clean that up, that's how you're going to do that. Alrighty, so here are the results of Josh's haircut. What do you think about it, Josh?
It looks so good. It makes me feel, rejuvenated, refreshed. I kind of look like Ellen.
You look like Ellen. Well, at least you don't act like Ellen, because I hear she's pretty mean.
Ooh. Well, maybe she's having a bad day. I don't know. Everybody's allowed to have a bad day, but you never know.
Right. So you can look like Ellen as long as you don't act like Ellen.
Yeah.
I'm going to have you turn your head to the side here so you can see there's the side of Josh's hair. And then there is the other side of Josh's hair. So again, this is just a very basic haircut. Nothing super fancy. This is like one of the first, I feel like, sort of short haircuts you learn whenever you're in hair school. I also want to put like a little bit of product in Josh's hair so you guys can kind of see the difference. That product really does make a huge difference with shorter hair. Just helps to give like a little bit of texture and piece everything out. I'm just using, this is Amika's Heist molding paste that I'm using right now. I wasn't sponsored by Amika, I just happen to have this product on me. So we're just going to put a little bit of this through the hair just to kind of piece it out a little bit. Finish Josh up.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really useful and really helpful. Like just getting the knowledge out there just to be able to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Right
I mean,
now.
I think a lot of people, like for me too, especially, I feel like right now it's so easy to just like get up and stay in your pajamas all day long and just kind of like feel blah, you know? And so like the more we're sitting around and not really taking care of ourselves, it's just easier to kind of feel like depressed about
and the
everything
worse
that's
you
happening.
feel.
Yeah, like I feel like when you like kind of spruce yourself up a little bit, you just feel so much better.
Gives
like,
you a little bit of life.
Yes, definitely. Like for me, like recording these videos, having an excuse to like get dressed and put makeup on has made such a huge difference. So hopefully you feel a little bit better.
Absolutely. I feel great.
Up here. Yeah,
yes.
It looks so good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good having you on.
Yes, I'll see you guys later. Make sure you drop a comment on, what you think we should do with the color.
Yes, we're going to be doing another color video with Josh, so make sure you check that out. And also, here's Josh's Instagram handle. Be sure to give him a follow if you think he's adorable and awesome as I do. Like, definitely give him a follow. But you guys will definitely be seeing Josh again. But until next time, Josh.
All right, bye, Rainbowheads. See you later.
Anyway, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you want to see some of my other crazy hair content, be sure to check out the rest of my channel. I will be jumping back into wild hair color very soon. I have a few ideas that I'm very excited about, so keep an eye out for that. But until next time, I will see you later, Rainbow Heads.